Good evening, everyone. My name is Barbara Agan. I'm the Director of Member Engagement and Education with Edify Credit Union. I want to thank you for joining us for our virtual session, Short-Term and Payday Loans, part of our fraud series. And I will now turn the meeting over to Greg.
Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Greg Borland. I'm the fraud investigator for Edify Credit Union. Like Barbara was saying, tonight's presentation is going to be on short-term and payday loans, which are basically synonymous. They're used interchangeably, okay, and how fraudsters exploit your desperation and take advantage of people. So I'm going to start off the presentation. The first is my brag sheet. My career in law enforcement before I became a fraud investigator for Edify. I've got a long history, 28 years in law enforcement. I've investigated many crimes throughout the years and spent most of my time in the investigative division and have brought some experience to the game here. All right, so once everybody gets a minute to look at that, I'll give you a rare treat. Well, picture me when I got promoted to captain. They were nice enough to take photos. So I included that to see who you're dealing with. That was me prior to retirement back in 2019. All right, so let's get right into it. What are short-term payday loans? It's really quite simple. They're short duration loans designed to provide quick cash, usually between 2 to 4 weeks or the next payday. They approve and fund very fast. They're normally attractive for people with poor credit or people who are in financial ruin or on the brink of financial ruin because it gives them access to funds in a short time. So that is also why it's pretty common for fraudsters or bad actors to take advantage because they know that in this lending zone, you have people that are kind of in financial strain and are desperate trying to seek a way out. Okay, so moving right along. These loans are normally small. I've seen them $25 as high as $5,000. They normally have got a higher APR. They're minimal credit checks. The approval process is very fast, and you do see repeat borrowing. You see people that use it almost like they borrow 1 week, they pay it back the next week. They borrow 1 week, pay it back the next week. So it moves along real quick for certain people who are kind of stuck and need it. It's just some examples I put on here so you have an idea of the payday loan companies, traditional ones that are online, Money Mutual, Cash USA, Clearview Loans, Bad Credit Loans. What's becoming more and more common are, because everybody's doing everything from their cell phone, which is kind of having like a computer on your hip, right? These cash advance apps. Earnin, Varo, Dave, Chime, Cash App, Bright, Tilt, and Clio. All right, so the money, everything's done on your phone, and really there's no iPad or computer involved. And a lot of the younger generations and even the older generations are starting to do things this way. All right, why do payday loans attract fraud? Like I said before, they exploit the victim's desperation. There's an urgent need for cash. They have limited access to traditional credit because they may have poor or bad credit, which puts them in the brink of financial ruin or in financial ruin, which, it's kind of like this big circling event, cycling the drain, right? There's a lot of stress and desperation here. And a lot of times the borrowers just don't understand loan terms and what they're getting themselves into. So it makes it a very ripe opportunity for bad actors to kind of get their tendrils in.
So I'm going to jump in with a question, Greg, because
Yep.
the companies that you listed, so payday loans and payday lenders, that's considered predatory lending, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's fraud. It means they take advantage of people who are poor. That's different than the people that are literally getting scammed, or is that not correct?
No, you're 100% correct. So the ones I listed are all legitimate. Those are legitimate payday lenders, and yes, they do take advantage of people that are in financial ruin or on the brink of financial ruin. We're going to move more into the fraud end of it now. Like I wanted to get the basics out of the way first. Now you're going to see how fraud comes into it. So they both exploit that desperation, right? But it's more predatory lending on the legit side, right? And then fraud on the illegitimate side.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, so some common payday loan fraud schemes. You have an advance fee loan schemes, like I'm just listing them now, and then we'll kind of dig deep into each of them. Fake debt collection scams, and then identity theft schemes. Okay, anyone that out front guarantees loan approval up front, right? Your red flag gets thrown, and you should be suspicious. Anytime anyone requests any type of upfront processing fee, you're being scammed. Don't do it. Okay. They're going to tell you it's to verify your banking information. They're going to tell you it's proof of your ability to pay. They're going to tell you it's a loan processing fee. And then a lot of times, for these fees, they're going to request them in wire transfers or gift cards, right? And unfortunately, I've had many people fall for this. Once again, they take advantage of people's desperation who are on the brink of financial ruin or in financial ruin. So these are things, quote unquote, take to the bank. If they're asking for advance fees, don't do it. You're going to get scammed. And anytime there's any type of strange payback fees, like they want gift cards or wire transfer or Bitcoin, okay, don't do it. You're getting taken advantage of. Now we have your fake debt collection scams. So they'll call you up and they'll claim that you owe a payday loan or there's something on your credit report, right? They use aggressive threats. They're going to tell you there's your social security number. This is a good one they use all the time. Your social security number has been suspended and there's a warrant out for your arrest, right? And they demand you make immediate payment, okay? And a lot of times they ask for gift cards or they used to ask for Western Union transfers, or now it's Bitcoin, right? They won't give you any documentation. And like the last one says, demand payment through unusual methods. Anytime anybody's asking you to pay for in Bitcoin, okay, or gift cards, you got to look twice because, I will bet some money that it's fraud and they're trying to take advantage of you. All right, identity theft schemes through fake lenders. This is really common, and it's becoming more and more complex and pervasive. You're seeing, and I've seen it personally in my investigations, fake websites that use real websites and just change them a little bit, and they optimize them, okay, so that they come up at the top of the list. But some other points here. They're just trying to gain information, right? Because they're going to have you fill out applications. They'll get your social security number. They're going to get your bank account details, login and password information. We're going to fund your loan. So I need your login information for Edify Credit Union. I need your member number and your password. And then they're going to ask for your MFA code because they need it to fund your loan. Don't give that information out. 99.99999%, it's fraud and your account's going to get compromised and they're going to try to steal your money. They may ask for driver's license for information. They're going to try to get as much biographical information off of you that they can using social engineering, name, address, phone number, password, and hints. They may ask for employment history. So like I was saying before, these fake websites, I've seen them. They're very realistic. They optimize them to come up in the first. So you put in Wells Fargo lending and it comes up first, Wells Fargo lending. The name may be very close to a reputable lender, right? So look at that. I changed it from Edify to Edifel Credit Union. You may not even notice, right? You put in Edify and that'll come up. They optimize it to come up under Edify. You don't notice the I's been changed to an L. Then you'll be taken to a fake website, right? That's going to either download malware or they're going to try to engineer to get all of your biographical information. Another thing you can keep an eye out for is grammatical and spelling errors, right? Because a lot of these sites are multinational. They come from other countries and their command of the English language is not always up to snuff. right? So that's one of the red flags are one of the giveaways. Spelling errors or grammatical errors. All right, so some online payday loan risks. Phishing emails, text messages, scams, and social media advertisement. So, if you don't know, phishing emails are emails that really are going fishing for information. Okay, you search for a short term loan, and all of a sudden you get an email. You've been approved for a loan, um, no pre approval, no low interest rate, right? And they start asking you questions. You need to supply us with a certain amount of information first, 100% guaranteed, but we need to get this information up front. Text messages, huge. They're getting huge now. Okay, they've moved away from the computer because everybody wants to do everything in their smartphone. Okay, they're sending you links through text messages. Apply here through this link. You go to the link, and all of a sudden, it compromises your phone, and it's able to pull information off your phone, or just the link takes you to a bad website, and they start collecting your data. Social media. I can't tell you how many people have been scammed from things on TikTok and Facebook. They're the big ones, right? Uh, short-term loans on Facebook, short-term loans on TikTok, or online job opportunities on both of them. All traps. All right. So now we'll get into some warning signs or red flags for payday loan fraud. Like I said before, anytime they say guaranteed approval regardless of credit, it's a red flag. Keep your eyes open because chances are it's going to be fraudulent. Anytime anybody's asking for upfront fees, run. Don't walk. Run the other way. Okay, because that's a scam. When you start looking, you won't see a physical address, right? If you start to try to do some research on the company, they use high pressure tactics. Have to ask now. If you act now, you get this interest rate. This will expire in 2 hours. There's unprofessional communications when they speak to you. They just put a lot of pressure on you. Once again, requests for unusual payment methods. If you take away nothing from this presentation, remember two things. Anyone who asks you for upfront funding or anyone asks you to pay in Bitcoin, wire transfers, or gift cards, run, you're being frauded. Okay, or lack of licensing or other legitimate internet information. When you do your due diligence, you should be able to find biographical information on the company. You can find their business information. There's a lot of websites that approve that. You just got to take the time and do your due diligence. All right. So now that we know what some of these frauds are, now we know how they try to get us, what can we do to try to protect ourselves? So, like I said before, it's all about doing your due diligence. Verify their lender licenses on websites. You will see lenders a lot of times have their license number. You can research that. Do your due diligence on the company. Look on the internet. There's a lot of information on when companies were formed, where they're out of, where they're incorporated. It's very easy to find. It takes some time. It takes some time and some effort. Request and read all the loan terms. Okay. Avoid the obvious traps. Once again, if there's two things you take away from this presentation, okay, no advance fees, no Bitcoin, no wire transfers, no gift cards. If any of those are involved in this loan application, you're being scammed. Do not proceed. So there's such a thing as secure websites, right? And when you look at the web address, if you see HTTPS, it means it's a secure website, right? So just another thing to look out for. Protect your personal information. Do your due diligence before you give them any information, right? Social engineering, they're trying to get your information. They call it phishing, right? There's the one with text messages is called smishing. Okay, so they're always trying to get whatever information they can out of you, right? Check reviews and complaints. Once again, all back right here. Do your due diligence. Okay, it's saving your money and the integrity of your accounts is worth the time it takes to do a little bit of internet research. What do I do if I suspect fraud? I love this fraud investigator grandma. She made me laugh. Right. So if you think that you're being defrauded, if you're applying for a loan, just stop communicating them with them immediately. Right. Contact your financial institution, your fraud investigations unit, or me if for Edify. Change your online passwords immediately. Monitor your credit report. There's a lot of places that have free credit monitoring. There's the one that I use, not a plug, but just the one I use is called Credit Karma. It uses three major credit bureaus, and you can check it as often as you like. I try to check mine at least once a week to make sure that there's no new accounts or any kind of information on there that does not belong. You want to document all interactions during the loan process, right? Because when it comes to me, if I can build a case to bring criminal charges against them, I will. We fight back here at Edify. We handle things a little bit different. You may or may not know this, but the bigger banks, they just write everything off. That's not how we do business here. We go after them, whether it's $250, $2,500, $25,000, $1.50. We go after them. Try to get the money back. If not, we try to identify them and bring criminal charges against them. Because of my background, I have ins into the law enforcement world. I know how to approach each of the law enforcement agencies to get the most amount of cooperation. Right, my background gets me in the door, so we come out swinging. We don't just write it off. We take it all very, very seriously. If it's one of these large financial rings, we try to get as many pieces of the chain as we can, and we try to get the law enforcement agencies to investigate, right? Because what is this is all about? This is all about getting money and money laundering, right? For drug trafficking, human trafficking, and terrorism. Okay, so it all comes down to money in the long run.
Right. And I
Payment
was just,
receipt. Go ahead. You got
oh, I'm
something?
sorry. I was just going to emphasize, I didn't, yeah, you're still going through the slide, but I think another big message is no matter what amount you were scammed, don't let your pride or embarrassment prevent you from speaking up and reporting it, because that's how a lot of scams continue, because people are embarrassed. But everybody has to kind of fight and fight crime.
100% right. That's a good point. I bring that up later on in the presentation, and I will certainly get back to that as well. So, website screenshots, names, numbers, dates, and times, right? All of that as much information as you can preserve, get all of it, right? So when you bring it to me, if with Edify, right, it gives me a better chance of putting together a case to go for law enforcement or leveraging charges against people to get the money back. Okay, let's talk about the conclusion and some takeaways here. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is, right? People don't like to hear that, but there's just no free rides. Okay, so when you're going through this, if you do go for these types of loans, realize, okay, this may not be. This sounds better than it should be. Once again, legitimate lenders do not request advance fees. Verify the lender's information before supplying your personal information, right? All these points come back, circle back. Do your due diligence. And be aware of high pressure tactics or threats. Okay. If there's threats or high pressure tactics, legitimate lending institutions don't do that. If somebody calls up, even collections agencies, right? If they call up, they're not allowed to threaten you, right? They can put some pressure on, but there's a difference. These fraudsters will get downright nasty with you. Okay. And really, anytime there is suspected fraud, you should report it promptly. I know that people get embarrassed, but it happens to everybody. Okay. They're very good at their job, and nobody is outside of falling for it, especially if you're on hard times and they're taking advantage of that desperation. Okay, famous last words. So this is important. Consumer awareness is the strongest defense against payday loan fraud. Educated consumers are less likely to become victims of financial crime, right? That's why, thank you, all of you that came tonight, right? Because you're taking a step in educating yourselves. You know more than you did, 20, 30 minutes ago, going through all of this. This, once again, goes back to the more you know, the less chance you'll be taken advantage of. Remain vigilant, verify lenders carefully, report suspicious activity to the proper authorities. Now, a little amusing anecdote about being embarrassed. Okay. So 28 years as a police officer, okay, and a fraud investigator. My brother, okay, who's been my brother for many, many years, gets taken advantage of by a fraudster. He is on his computer and the alarms and bell whistles start going off and the red lights and a pop-up comes on and says that child porn's been detected and the police are on their way. And he gave up all his information. He compromised his computer, compromised his identity. And he panicked. Now he doesn't like to say that, right? Because he doesn't want to feel like he panicked, but that's exactly what he did. I said, why wouldn't the first thing you do is call me? Right? Look at what I do for a living. Look what I've been doing for a living. Why wouldn't? Because they made it so immediate, right? They said child porn and he panicked, right? They said the police are on the way and he panicked. So this can happen to anyone. There's no shame in the game. The moral of that story is, right, if anything is suspicious, just report it. It's worth the phone call. It's worth the email. It's worth it not losing your money. All right, reporting fraud. Here are some resources for you. Okay, your credit union fraud investigator, me. My information will be on the last slide. If there's ever any questions or if you have problems, anything you suspect, you reach out to me. Your local police department using the non-emergency number. A fraud on your checking account is not a 911 situation. Is the non-emergency number. I list the county prosecutor's office, the attorney general's office. They're not as accommodating most of the time. I mean, is it an avenue? Yes. Will they take your report? I don't know. Each county is different, and I haven't had a great deal of success with the attorney general's office. So, but it is an avenue, so I list it. Excuse me. The Federal Trade Commission website's pretty good. Fraud reporting is pretty good. AARP Crime Watch Network is good, and this is a newer one. The FBI Internet Complaint Center, IC3. Right? We love our little catchy acronyms and our little names for everything. IC3.gov. That one has actually been the most successful in my experience. Okay, that really kind of gets us to the end. Here's my name and information. I want to thank you for your time. And we always close with some sort of trivia. So in honor of the upcoming 4th of July holiday, there's a famous 1975 movie quote. You're going to need a bigger boat. Does anyone know it?
You guys
And
can
Barbara, I'm going to stop
shout your
sharing.
answers in. I know the answer. Yes.
Yeah, you couldn't wait to jump in. Yes, Jaws. An
Love that
iconic
movie.
film.
Well, thank you for joining us for our session tonight. Thank you, Greg. And
Yes.
this will conclude our meeting.